There's been confirmation this week that Spain has now become the first European country to apply to join our application at the International Court of Justice to declare Israel's actions in Gaza as an act of genocide. Already the court has granted our applications for certain provisional measures. Several weeks ago, the court ordered Israel to stop its attacks on Rafah. So far, Israel has said it will not comply with that order. Professor Hennie Strydom is a professor of public and international law at the University of Johannesburg. Professor Strydom, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. I suppose for many people, the significance here is that Spain is a European country. Many countries in Europe have a history of supporting Israel. Does this make any difference in our case?
Yeah, good afternoon, Stephen, to the viewers. Certainly, I think it makes a difference, and it's quite meaningful that Spain is the first European country to join the proceedings. And also because it's one of the sort of most critical views coming from the European side concerning the conduct of hostilities by Israel. What is unclear at this point in time are the grounds on which Spain will join. It has two options. In terms of Article 62 of the statute of the ICJ, a state who has a legal interest in a decision that the court will bring out, it has the right to join proceedings if that interest can be affected by the decision. And secondly, if a state is a member, a party to a convention, and that convention is subject to scrutiny by the court, then that party to the convention may also ask the court to join. So I assume that any of those two grounds will be the basis on which Spain will join. The actual application is not before the court or publicly available at this point in time. And I'm speculating on the matter now. I've also seen media reports indicating that Spain is supporting or wants to support South Africa's application for interim measures. And that's a bit confusing. I do not know what will be the meaning or sense of doing so. But let's wait and see what will be the actual grounds Spain will come up with.
Professor, so if we look at our case, and we've seen our lawyers arguing in front of the court a couple of times now, and we've seen the evidence that they've brought, which has been accepted by the judges by and large, even though Israel doesn't accept it. Is there anything new you think that Spain would be able to add, whether it would be in the form of new evidence or new arguments? Or do you think it would just build, and the significance here is the fact that it's Spain, making the same argument, if you see what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good point you're making. I've just looked a few days ago to Palestine's application to join. It did so on the 31st of March. Under the two provisions I just mentioned to you, Palestine made it clear that it's joining to address the court on the merits of the case, not on the interim measures. And I looked at the arguments that Palestine has put forward in order to justify its application. And they almost 100% aligned with what South Africa has already placed before the court. So one will have to wait and see what Spain is coming up with. There may be more states. According to news reports, there are quite a number of states who want to join. And I think they want to join on the merits of the case, at which the court is still having to decide on. And maybe there will be additional evidence or points of argument, especially with regard to how to interpret the Genocide Convention in the context of the case.
There is an argument that sort of says this entire case is meaningless because it is not changing anything on the ground, and that what we really need is a peace deal. I think there is also an argument to suggest that global public opinion is being changed because of our court case. Maybe Spain is a good example. West Germany's recent criticism, Germany's criticism of Israel may be another example. It didn't do that before. But it still isn't stopping Israel. Israel says it will keep going, or their prime minister says they will keep doing this until they destroy Hamas. Every expert on the matter has said destroying Hamas is impossible. Is there any other option open to the international community to stop this?
Yeah, Stephen, I think the pattern has become clear now, what the international community, through individual states or through the United Nations, trying to do now. Firstly, there is the legal avenue via the ICJ and also via the ICC, the International Criminal Court. And that is to get the sort of the legal mechanics in place and to build a legal case against Israel's offensive in Gaza. The second pillar of this approach by the international community is through the United Nations. Now, we know that the Security Council cannot act because of the veto in many instances, although it has tried to voice its opinion. And then there's the General Assembly, which has made out, sort of notified in very strong terms the stance it is taking on this issue. And then the third one, and that is the important one, if we want to stop this conflict from going on, and that is via a peace deal. And many states are now involved in that sort of approach. So the court does not have the power to end wars. It is impossible for it to do so. The only way in which is going to have an effect on the ongoing hostilities is when there's a peace deal. And apparently there are now sort of some progress being made. We do not know how far in getting an agreement between Hamas and Israel on the new proposals made.
So, I mean, in the end, and I mean, I've heard some analysis suggesting that, in fact, because of the failure of the United Nations Security Council, because of, let's call it what it is, the American veto, basically the International Court of Justice, the sort of power is devolved down. If you have a failure at the United Nations level, suddenly it becomes the court's problem, but the court can issue its instructions, and that's where it ends.
It's a good point you're making, and many scholars have also alluded to that development. If you look at the number of cases the ICJ now has to deal with in terms of advisory opinions and requests for preliminary measures, it's obvious that many states who would like to have some effective response from the international community have lost faith in the organs of the United Nations. We had the same situation with Russia, using its veto as a permanent member to prevent the Security Council from acting. And now we've seen the same happening in the case of Gaza. So because of that dysfunctionality that has crept into the United Nations in all these sort of major conflicts that we're having at the moment, sort of the states now sort of trying the legal avenue via the court. It's the only other option they have.